Hello and welcome back to The Stage Door, presented by Camber Arts right here in Corner Brook on Rogers TV. This week, Camber Arts is a busy place. Even though there's a break from our Graham Academy programming and school's off, that does not mean it's a stop for us. We're bringing a brand new festival to Corner Brook called the April Owl. Now, I say brand new, it's kind of new to us. It's actually a revival and evolution of the March Hare, and we're really excited to be able to share that with Corner Brook. It starts actually tonight, April 9th, and goes right through to April 13th with a lot of great artists. And I'm here with one of those artists, Lloyd Bartlett. So Lloyd, thanks so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's a privilege to be able to get to talk to you. Of course, you're no stranger to Corner Brook or Western Newfoundland as a whole.
Not exactly.
And how blessed are we that we have that?
Thank you so much. That's a compliment. Thank you.
Well, it's again, Corner Brook, you know, it's amazing that a show like this can exist in Corner Brook, and there really is something to talk about. Every week there's something happening and someone who has an experience. And because this show is fully based on the arts, we get to start diving in a little bit more. So I'll start with asking, where did it all begin for you as a musician?
Oh my God, for me, I guess it all began in school, when I was back in elementary school, actually, I think in grade 7 or so. So I would have been like 10 or 12 years old, I don't know. Yeah, 13 years old. And that's where I got my first Sears guitar from the catalog. And there was actually a young guy in the class with me. His name was Gary Quibble, and he's from here, and I'd like to mention his name because he means so much to me. But he could actually play. When we were that young, he could actually finger pick and play chords and stuff, and I didn't know one end of the guitar from the other. So he was an inspiration to me to get better, you know, because when I heard him play, I said, oh, I want to do that. And I was inspired at the time, of course, by the Beatles, like everybody else, and instrumental bands like the Shadows and the Ventures and those old groups. Because back in those days, you would hear instrumental music on radio, and not as it is now. You hardly ever hear it.
Very different now.
It's very different. But so I wanted that, and I went to a teenage dance a couple of years later, and saw Wayne Neal playing in a band with a Fender Stratocaster, and I just had to experience that. I had to know what it was like to have a Strat hung on me and play, because it just meant so much to me to see it, you know? And so I guess I started learning how to play. I taught myself because there were no guitar teachers anywhere to get lessons from. I taught myself. That can be good or bad, but it worked out, I think, good. And from then on, teenage bands in high school. We played at the teenage dances on the weekends here and in Deer Lake and Stephenville. And from then, I guess by the time I was just out of high school, I got invited to play with a professional band. I was a lead guitar player, by the way, and singer. And so I got an invite from one of Corner Brook's professional bands called the Dumonts to play lead guitar with them. And I took it, and that worked out really well for the band and for myself. We went to St. John's. We played all over St. John's and all the bars and clubs. We did a few gigs in Toronto that fall, and that just led me more and more into the business, you know, and I just really enjoyed it. I was just blinded by blinded by delights, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, but it just really hit with me. I wanted to be a musician, and I decided early on that I wanted to be a decent one. I wanted to be able to, if I'm going to be a guitar player, I want to be a good guitar player.
Yeah.
And so that's where my concentration went. And from there, I just kept on playing. You know, bands come, bands go, they break up.
Of course.
So you change. I've had to reinvent myself or add a new dimension to my musical persona many times. And I'm still playing, so it means that the changes I've made must have worked, because I've always been busy as a musician. And from that band and that Toronto experience, I went joined a duo one other guy, so we were a duo, and we played all over Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, that sort of thing. When that busted up a year later, I took my own band made up of Wilf Party and Terry Anstey from here in
Pretty
Cornerbrook.
legendary crew there.
Yeah, and we went off and we had an agency in Halifax, so
Yeah.
we got booked through the agency, and we played all over Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI, and that led me to an opportunity to play solo, because there were some bars that wanted somebody solo, and I said, well, I can do that. So I got an acoustic guitar and started playing solo. In those days, I would have been playing songs by Jim Croce, James Taylor, that kind of thing, and that really hit me. That made a big difference. I wanted that. I wanted to be a solo player. As much as fun as it was with bands, I really enjoyed playing solo because of the total autonomy, and you didn't have rehearsals or anything like that. Practice, yes, but not rehearsals. And so then I hit the bar scene, the nightclubs, small nightclubs, hotel circuit, hotel lounges, that kind of thing. So, and in those days, there was no such thing as a one-night gig.
Yeah.
I played 6 nights a week.
Amazing.
50 weeks a year for about 12 or 13 years.
Incredible.
And at one point, in fact, my old band, before we left to go to Nova Scotia, we played at a bar on Broadway here called Club 17, and we were the house band for 2 years.
Yeah.
6 nights a week, you know. So that, and then progressing from there, I went into that solo thing, played everywhere you could, and there was lots of work all the time. A friend of mine owned or didn't own, he operated a club, a bar club, or a restaurant bar, I should say, in Florida. He offered me a job if I came down there playing in his place. So I went. That was about 1985. And went down there and played there for a year and a half, and I played at all kinds of different resorts and stuff like that, you know, private clubs too. One interesting thing about that, before I ever went to Florida, I had a hardcover picture book of Florida, and you know, promo for tourism that. And one of the pictures in that book was a picture of the Hilton Hotel on Clearwater Beach. And I looked at that picture one day and I said, man, oh man, would I ever love to play in a place like that? And you know, 8 months later, I was playing in that hotel.
Incredible.
No kidding, yeah. And so I'll never forget that. Anyway, that was all fun too. And then again, as you know, things change. I wasn't legal in Florida. I didn't.
Oh yeah.
Just went on my own steam. And so I decided this is not that smart. So I said, I think I'll go home, no insurance. So came back to Cornerbrook, actually landed in Cornerbrook, and I said, maybe it's time to take root. And I did. I took root in Cornerbrook, and things have worked out really well for me subsequently. So I still kept playing bars and whatnot. But by the time I hit 50 doing the same thing, I started to think, well, maybe I should get something else, because there's not really a financial security future in being a musician. So I started a music store, Village Music. And I worked at that with my wife for 13 years and finally retired from that. And then I spent 8 years wintering in Florida, you know. But in the meantime, before that, when I started the store, I got offered the position of playing at the March Hare by Rex Brown and Al Pittman. And that led me to adding another dimension to my musical life, because I didn't know what I was going to play. I was going to be in the March Hare, which is an artistic, you know, you're surrounded by writers and poets, and like Ron Hines would be there. And I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to play. So it drove me to think, since I was a guitarist, I said, what about I take Newfoundland jigs and reels and play them on a classical guitar and see how they sound. And I did it, and they sounded really different, really unique and nice. So I did that, and I put out 2 albums of Newfoundland music on classical guitar, and they went over really, really well and sold really well. And that gave me another persona, you know. So I've been so grateful to the March Hare for that, because I really wanted I didn't want to be dying at that point, you know, musically. I wanted to
absolutely.
keep going.
Yeah.
And it was the March Hare that gave me that impetus to keep on playing and developing in that area. So I have had yet another version of me to come out with musically, and I think there are 4 or 5 different versions now, because I play the Newfoundland folk music on guitar. I also play jazz. I play songs. I can sit down all night and sing you songs by Jimmy Buffett and the Eagles too, as well as I have a wealth of original material for guitar, and even a few pieces for piano. So
Lifelong musicianship.
it is absolutely,
you know?
yeah, like in for the long haul. Yeah, it's what
No,
I
I
do.
think it's an amazing thing, and it showcases too, you know, look at your roots, and
Yeah.
you know, we are shaped by what we take in, what we listen to, what we
absolutely.
read.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
you mentioned even that book on Florida, that helped shape
Yeah,
your journey.
oh, it did. It made a big
and
difference,
I
yeah.
think the other part that shapes us, that's important to talk about, because both of these things are, you know, times have changed. We're in a high-tech era in many
Oh my
ways,
God,
and that's
it's
been
scary.
beneficial and perhaps not on the other
Yeah,
side. And I
yeah,
think looking at it, you know, we're shaped because then when you listen to an album, you listened to the album because
whole
you bought
album.
it.
That was the
so
way
you
I
hear
always
the
listened
flow,
to music.
and
Yes.
you know
Yeah.
that's something we don't get as much
Yeah.
anymore with
It's-
the infinite resource that we have.
Yeah, it's one tune at a time these days, right? Yeah.
Which is a different shape of music. And
Yeah.
then again, saying yes to things is the other thing that shapes us. And
yeah, yes, it
I
is.
think a lot of us are a bit more wary of that, because we could look it up and see if that's the right way, or what
Yes.
steps to do, or how should I do this.
Yes.
Whereas saying, yeah, I'll do that,
Yeah,
and then learning
you gotta
is
be
a way to do it too.
Fearless,
you know?
go where no man's gone before. You know, like
Yeah.
And that related to that idea. One of the things I've always committed myself to in music is not to play just all the old familiar stuff for everybody. I challenge myself all the time to expose people to music they've never heard before.
Yeah.
Not only stuff I write myself, but stuff that's maybe obscure, that you know you never hear on the radio or anything like that. But some of the most beautiful music is stuff you will never hear on media, right? And so I've always prided myself on never giving up that idea to expose people to brand new music. Because if we don't, we're going to be singing Neil Diamond for the rest of our
Well, there you
lives.
go,
Really,
you know.
got to do that, right?
Yeah, and you've collaborated with a lot of, you know, Heather Tuock on a
Heather,
few albums,
yes,
who's an
my
incredible
God,
artist, and Wendy Woodland,
Wendy
who, of
Woodland,
course, no
yes.
stranger to this
Yeah.
channel, but
Yeah, which
those
is-
are great albums.
Which
So-
was another aspect of my musical
Yeah.
life, actually. I produced over 50 albums for other
Incredible.
people besides 10 of my
Yeah.
own. So yeah, I have a bit of experience.
Yeah,
without-
well, it's certainly a
fun, too.
privilege, and I think, you know, we're going to get to hear some of Lloyd's music in just a couple minutes, but before that, you know, of course, the April Owl is in part a revival and in part an evolution
New, too,
of the
yeah.
March Hare, you know, which ended in 2018. You were a part of that for a long time.
Long time,
and,
14 years. I
you
think.
know, we got a couple minutes for you to explain what was magical about that space
Oh,
and
it's-
sharing that
Yeah, you
in
totally
a short time.
totally different from anything else I've done, and it stands alone. And I think it's because with being invited to play at the March Hare, it was an affirmation to me that somebody was taking me seriously, that I wasn't just a bar singer whacking out songs by the pop culture of the day. When Rex and Al invited me to be on the March Hare, I said, wow, what a compliment that is, to include me, lowly me, as someone who can stand up next to Ron Hines and sing a song, or Rex Brown, or Al Pittman, great writer, poet, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, to be included, I said, if you can judge me by the company I keep, judge me now, because that's the company I'm so proud to be a part of, really.
No, and we hope to capture some of that
Yep.
magic and community
you will.
building. You know, we're certainly bringing some great folks in for the April Owl. Like I said, the events began tonight. If you're watching this as it airs, that's April 9th. April 9th and 10th, we have Woman of Labrador, a beautiful one-woman show featuring Cindy O'Neill and directed by Edmund McLean, and they're going to do a little talk back after the show. And we actually have an opening act of Ben Pittman and David Stacey. So, of course, Ben's a direct connection to Al. We're really excited to see the music that they bring. On tomorrow, April 10th, we have some workshops with Andy Jones and Megan Greeley in the afternoon. Those are pay what you can. Great opportunity to learn some playwriting and acting skills for those interested. Saturday, we have a morning coffee with Rex Brown and Randy Maggs. That's going to be a treat to hear their stories of the hair as it was and the English department at Grenfell that helped make it all happen. And then we have our Words and Music series. And, we have words by some incredible writers, including Megan and Andy, as well as Lindsay Bird and Kelsey Green, and Rex and Randy. And we have music throughout the weekend of Saturday and Sunday with Danielle Payne, Lloyd Bartlett, Phil Churchill, Geraldine Hollett, and Sherman Downey. So it's really going to be a treat. Nice. And the Mad Hatter's Tea Party on Sunday. That's direct from the hair tradition, a family event.
It is for sure.
And Andy and Mary Lynn are doing a beautiful puppet show as the headliner of that. And then on Monday, Andy Jones has his own show, Don't Give Up on Me, Dad, which is a really special piece of theater that Andy's wrote and performs. And I think that's going to be a really special evening. If you haven't seen it, certainly worth seeing. And of course, everybody has a story. So on Sunday evening, Edmund and Cindy and myself have worked with some seniors or progressing adults, as we've identified the term, to write and share something. So that's going to be a piece of verbatim theater that night. So there really is something for everyone. The April Owl, and as we conclude the episode, you'll see some of the details on that on screen, and you'll also get to hear Lloyd share two beautiful pieces. And thanks for coming on the stage door, Lloyd.
My pleasure. Thank
you. A real
you.
privilege
Thank
to have you.
Having me. Thank you.
And of course, before we conclude and go to Lloyd's music, I do have to thank Harbour Financial, our gold level sponsor. Sponsorship does help make these type of events possible. So if you're interested in supporting, head to camberarts.ca. We'd love to have you as supporters. And we'd love to see you at the April Owl, and stay tuned for what's coming up next. And Lloyd's going to play us out as we conclude, and we'll see you soon back at the stage door.
Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hill, sketch the trees and the daffodils. Catch the breeze and the winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. And now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. Starry, starry night, flaming flowers that brightly glaze, swirling clouds of violet haze, reflecting Vincent's eyes of china blue, colors changing hue, morning fields of amber gray, weathered faces lined with pain are soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. And now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you, but still your love was true. And when no hope was left in sight, on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Starry, starry night, portraits hung in empty halls, frameless heads on nameless walls, with eyes that watch the world that can't forget, like the strangers that you met. The ragged men in ragged clothes, silver thorn and bloody rose, lie crushed and broken on the virgin snow. And now I think I know what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they're not listening still.